Hello, everyone. Welcome to She Writes Studios Financial Panel. And tonight we have some very important ladies and special guests with us. We're going to talk about women in finance, how to handle our finances, emotions attached. So, emotions and money is our topic. And we have Geeta Anjali Trikha is recognized for her role as a visionary, change agent, and catalyst encompassing the fluidness and creative of strategic thinking to serve individuals and teams to elevate a happier learning culture and true abundant in life. Abundance is so important in life, especially when you can create it. And it sounds like you're very creative mind. She adds heart and soul to her corporate environments to elevate personal power and people. As a founder and CEO, her passion is to help people discover their true potential, developing it and making it a part of everyday life. Love it. So thank you for joining us. Is there anything you would like to add to just give some more information to our audience about what you can do for those out there listening?
Certainly, I think what I love to do and what I really enjoy doing a lot with whether it's working with women or whether it's working with men really is really to help them to understand the connection between their self-worth and how if you increase and understand what it takes to increase your self-worth, that your net worth increases at the same level. Yeah.
And you were telling us earlier that you have a large background in the financial banking industry, and then you kind of went into healthcare, and then brought it back to client relations management and pharmaceutical sales, and you kind of played lots of different roles. And now you've come really into this, guiding people, like you said, to really be the best, version of them and understand what their worth is. And sometimes we do forget our worth, and especially as women, we put our worth aside for everything else that we're dealing with, whether we're wives or we're, dealing with being mothers and what's our kids' needs and putting our needs aside. And we're very good at people pleasing a lot of times. And Nicole is going to be asking all three of us some very interesting, intriguing questions that women probably are struggling with when it comes to emotions and money. So I'm going to pass the torch over to Nicole and let her see if she can't get some interesting answers out of us.
Hello, everybody. I'm Nicole Curtis. I'm part of the leadership team at She Rises Studios. And before we start diving into some questions, because I'm very eager to have all of you ladies here answer it, Olivia, I would love for you to introduce yourself to everybody, where you're from, what do you do? Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. First off, I am so excited to be here talking with everybody. I'm based out of Cincinnati, Ohio, and it's been a long day here, so I don't promise that I will speak coherently, but I'll do what I can here. I am a marketing and business coach for mompreneurs. I run a couple of different businesses with the main focus of helping moms in business to craft their offers, their marketing strategies, their business strategies, their schedules, everything based around their priorities of juggling 1.5 million other things. And a big part of that is also understanding their finances, what's coming in, what's going out, but also what you said, Geeta, of understanding that your relationship with money is really a direct correlation to your relationship with yourself, first and foremost. And you need to develop that relationship with yourself in order to develop that really good relationship with your money. So I'm excited to hear what you have to ask us, Nicole.
Yay, Olivia, thanks so much for being here. So I want to jump right to Geeta and ask this question to you, hun. With 2023 coming up, it's end of 2022. What do you think is the first step all women should take to become an unstoppable woman in finance, either now or coming into the new year?
Right? Because it's like we're right. Once the holiday season starts, it's almost like it's the end of the year, right? And us is kind of getting into preparing for the holidays, and then there's a business side of us that's all saying, oh no, have I hit my goal yet? Oh no, what am I going to do for next year? How am I going to do that? And I think to really be prepared and feel at a place where you're unstoppable at achieving some of those goals or things is to have a lot of clarity, right? I think you can't move forward really without having a clarity of having a vision of what do you really want. And when you're looking at it from a perspective of as we're talking about money, right? I find we can have lofty goals. However, if we get really concrete and say, well, what do we really need this money for this year, right? Olivia, I'm sure you would also agree with some of the things I'm sharing here, right? It's like if you really get clear about what do I really need this money for, not be attached to how much you think you can make, right? It's not about what you think you can do, but really about what do you actually want and what do you need it for. When you get that clarity and you get the clarity of where am I and where do I need to go, that's where I think the opportunity for real magic to happen, because that's when you get really clear. And I think to really become unstoppable in where you want to go, that's the first step. Is you got to become clear.
Ah, I love that. I got goosebumps when you were talking. It's powerful. Heather, what about you, hon?
Well, I think one of the biggest things we forget to do as women. Oh, so I introduced Geeta. I didn't introduce myself. So I work with She Rise Studios, but I also have a financial business in Florida, financial GPS, and a podcast. And I'm in the book that we just did along with Olivia and Nicole of Becoming an Unstoppable Woman in Finance. So that's the reason I'm on this panel, not just for She Rise, but for that too. Yes, it's the book. And one in my chapter, I definitely talk about the fact that we forget to take an active role. Sometimes we, like I said, we juggle so much as women and so many different roles. We forget to be active in our own roles, and we forget to believe that we should be confident that we can take that active role over our money. We let ourselves believe that we're not as important, and we forget that a lot of times nowadays, especially, we are, equal breadwinners. We're bringing as much or more to the table. And then, having that reality that things can be different. We may have grown up in different ways. We might have old relationships with money that prevent us from having that confidence. But, once you have overcome that lack of confidence because maybe you didn't grow up with money, or maybe you think, your partner should be making all of the decisions, or whether you feel like you need to give more to, your family. Once you'll be able to give that confidence, and like you just said, knowing exactly what you're wanting the money for, then having the confidence and belief that you have the right to engage in your finances. Even some people have a trouble when they're employees. They have that employee mentality of, oh, well, they're giving to my 401k. I don't really need to think about it. And those things aren't true. Financial literacy is very important, but understanding your own financial literacy is extremely important. So it's very hard to even take the next step of planning or mapping out what to do with your money if you don't honestly know where your money is at and have taken the active role of even understanding how to move forward with your finances based on what your budget is, based on what your debt is, based on what savings you have or don't have. And without understanding really the direction you need to go in, it's hard to start that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Olivia, what do you think should be the first step all women should take to become an unstoppable woman in finance?
First step. There's I think when a lot of people think of finances and wealth and things like that, they think of the material things that wealth kind of represents to them. And I think one of the first really important steps is to actually kind of shift your focus to the feelings that these things bring you instead of those actual material things. Think of how they make you feel and what that actually is that you want to feel, instead of just trying to attain it all and needing to make enough and having that set number in your head. Kind of figure out why you want that in the first place and go from there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. So we talked about what the first step all women should take to become unstoppable. I would love to hear from all of you about, what do you think is the one mistake that you see women making over and over regarding their finances? And Geeta, let's start with you, hon.
You know what? I love what Olivia brought up, right? The idea of really focusing on the feelings, right? The feelings of what's the feeling that you're going to get from looking at the money that you want and all that other stuff. But I think it's also, it can also in some way, you have to become aware of what's the underlying need, the emotional need that's driving your need to earn the money, right? So Olivia, you're talking about it on the end of like, oh my God, I'm gonna be so accomplished. I'm gonna feel so proud. It's gonna be, what a relief it's gonna be to have this earning, because I can provide in all these different varieties of ways or do all these things. But then at the same time, I think one of the things that often trip us and really create a trap for us is that there is an underlying need that's driving everyone to want to have something with to do with money, right? Wanting to overwork or wanting to really hustle or give up certain things or feel like the need to sacrifice. And when I think about that, really there's like 4 or 5 needs that I often talk about. And it's like, is it a need for security? I think a lot of people have a need for security in wanting to earn money, to feel safe, to make sure they have enough. And then there's a need for value. Like I'm worth something, like I'm valued. And if I have enough money or if I earn this much money, then I have sense of worth or value, right? I'm being important. And then there's the need for love, right? That if I'm earning this money or if I have this, then I have this underlining need that's driving is a need for wanting to be accepted and wanting to be loved. And I think the other need that we often talk about is the need for recognition, right? To being recognized, whether it's because you're getting a promotion or whether it's because you hit your numbers or your goals, but you want, or maybe you want to, if you're in any kind of entrepreneurial group or in sales, there's always these competitions or there's always this drive to like earn that award, and you want to be recognized as someone who's achieved that. Or maybe there's a need for status, right? I think some people have a need for status. They want to have that nice car. They want to have that brand name things. So I think it's so important to self-reflect. None of them are wrong. But it's really important to understand, well, what's my underlying need that's driving me to want this, right? And I think that when we get that, we can actually say, well, is that valid? Is that the right place for me to allow for that need? Because I think that can often be a trap.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Coming from my background, I did financial services for 8 years. And then I did radio advertising for 4. And in the office, it was very cutthroat. And I'll just speak for myself. At that time, entitlement and status was so important to me. I wanted to be the top #1 sales rep anywhere I was, in any company I was, because that's how I felt. The money is what made me feel valuable and worthy, and also that I was acceptable of being where I was at. And so I actually got lost in that trap of seeing that above everything else. So it's really great points that you brought up, Geeta. Thank you so much for sharing that. Heather, what one mistake do you see women making over and over regarding their finances?
Well, when I think about most of my clients, after we've had the discussion and had an honest discussion about where they're at and understanding how to take that active role in their finances, the next biggest thing is just understanding that wealth building has to be intentional. And it does take dedication. So being intentional about how they're moving forward and really giving dedication to that goal that they're setting. It's money, it's measurable, it's attainable. And although we have a lot of emotions sometimes attached to it that might, be a lot of people have negative emotions about money. So getting past those, like Geeta and Olivia were saying, and understanding, what you truly want and why. But once you're to that point and you're starting to try to build, your wealth and you have a plan mapped out, understand that you're going to have to be intentional and you're going to have to be dedicated to what you're doing, but that it is measurable. And so I try to teach them to take smaller steps and make not such big leaps. So as they start to attain, they gain that confidence about what they're doing. And as they're gaining confidence by working on their budget and working on their debt and getting to a point where they can feel a little bit of freedom, that they can really see that progression of that intention and dedication and want to continue to do it. And once they've freed up some of those funds and they have that confidence about them, those goals can start to get bigger and things can start to grow. I think it's like anything else. If you go out there and be like, I'm going to make $1 million this year, and you're starting out at a 5-figure budget saying you're going to make $1 million, I hope you do, but without intention and dedication, and without measurable goals that can build up that confidence in yourself, sometimes we fall flat of those scenes. And so to prevent ourselves from doing that, understanding really where we're at, taking that active role, and then understanding exactly what those steps that we're going to need to take to secure those goals that we set.
Geeta, you look like you want to say something.
No, I
okay.
appreciate what Heather is sharing, because I think it is so much about intentionality. And I think what you're talking about, Heather, is really about like the amount of clarity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having intentionality and concrete clarity as to how you want to grow.
Right.
Yeah, I love it. It just looked like you were wanting, like you were in it, like, oh man, this is awesome. I thought that maybe you wanted to comment on that or, say a lot more with that. So Olivia, what do you think, hon? What do you, one mistake that you see women making over and over regarding their finances?
Well, I can't say that this is just women in general, but it is something I've noticed just among the general masses when it comes to finance. And that's they either seem to fall into one of two camps. Either they are continually hustling, go, 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 need to do everything it takes to earn the money, or they're kind of sitting back and waiting for it to show up, going the whole manifesting route of I'm just going to sit here and say that I'm going to be a millionaire next year without going out and taking any action. And so in my mind, it kind of comes down to not having that balance between spending the time, taking action, doing what needs to be done to, set your budget, do this, take the action to make the money, but also allowing yourself that time to also recoup and actively receive and let the money come in, and don't just continually keep pushing and not being grateful for what you have and what's coming in. I think that balance seems to be something that's kind of hard for some people for a lot of people to find in their day-to-day lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love to share something on that.
Yeah.
Personal experience as an entrepreneur, I've been, in the coaching world now. I was in the financial world for a long, long time, working in the banking industry. And now, that was a whole different lifetime. But now, as for the last, 12, 15 years working in as a coach, I think for myself, if I were to really talk about what holds me back at times, honestly, it was more something a lot more closer to home. And that was really my energy.
Mhm.
Right? So I felt like as an entrepreneur, you have to kind of generate your own energy, right? You have to drive yourself to wake up and feel fresh and feel ready and get your day going, because trust me, it's so easy. The laundry's always calling, the beds, cleaning supplies, the grocery list, everything's always calling when you're working for yourself and you're working on your own. But for me, it was like getting my understanding, how do I cultivate the right amount of energy so I'm not hustling, right, Olivia? So it's
Yeah.
not like a feeling of a hustle, but it's more like a refreshing, like I get to create. I get to bring this forward to the world, not in the sense of a desperation need or a struggle to meet my monthly, expenses, but rather like, hey, there's this piece that I get to deliver into this world. But in order for me to do that, I think one of the key things that often women will overlook is their own energy. And the energy is honestly being rested, like making sure you get enough sleep that your body needs. So when you wake up, you don't feel like, oh my God, I got to get the kids to school. Oh my goodness, I got to go make breakfast. Oh my God, I got to, and then you do all of that and you're like, okay, I don't know what to do, because there was times when I was sitting in my car, drop off my kids, and I'm like, I can't even go in the house. I don't know, my brain's not, I've got this brain fog. All right. And I think addressing that, and that goes kind of what, Olivia, you were talking to, and Heather, you're speaking to, being intentional. It's like being intentional, taking care of your own self, and also being intentional in the activities of what you need to put out into the world so that you can earn. Right. I think they go hand in hand. And I think that's
Absolutely.
where we tend to skip the beat, or we think like, oh my God, I got to be in the hustle mode.
Yeah.
And it's not sustainable.
Yeah, I totally agree. Heather, do you want to chime in on that? Do you have anything else you'd like to say? Oh, you're muted, hon.
I'm a car pickup line, so so much going on, or I don't want to keep like the microphone on, like your
No
car.
worries.
So no, I totally agree with what Olivia and Geeta have said, and like I said, just, and I think it plays to, like I was saying, the intention and building the confidence. So as you're going and you're achieving these things, really giving yourself that pat on the back, be like, okay, I did this, and I think if you set the smaller goals instead of just focusing on that big far out goal, it allows you to have those little aha moments and those celebration moments, and really recognizing the strides that you're taking, every day. It's not just about perfection, it's about progress, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Absolutely. I want to jump ship here a little bit, and I love this question, so I'm really excited to ask you ladies this. How can women claim their seat on the finance floor? I'm talking the New York Stock Exchange,
Yeah.
Really putting themselves at the seat at the table, I guess, if you want to call it. So yeah, I'm really curious. Heather, why don't you start us off? How can women claim their seat on the finance floor? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I've never worked on Wall Street, so I can't really say how you would get there. What I can tell you is,
Me neither.
I have worked in the finance world. It was not my beginning, but it is my current, and it probably will be my ending. And what I can say is, you don't have to allow, what people may think as a male driven world define who you are and what you want to do. If you want to take an active role and be in the finance world, either whether it be for your own education or to help others within that, there's a lot of options, and we only limit ourselves, right? That's the main thing. Is it's not really about what other people think or what other people are or aren't doing. It's really about, our self-worth and our self-understanding. But with fintech and with blockchain, which are things I'm not even involved in, there is a lot of evolution going on right now within the finance world. that you definitely can step into those roles if that's what you want to do. You know, it's all about innovation anymore, and inventing different ways to take an active role in finance. And I think that people can create those type of situations. Um, but I think the first step would be to really do some investigating as to what type of finances you would want to step into, because like I said, there's is ever changing. There's a lot that I, don't even know. I started with Primerica, which was a major blessing for me. I mean, that company has more 6 and 7 figure earning women that are in finance every single day doing investments with families than any other company in the country. So I think that to say, why are women not on the finance floor? Maybe it's because they're making their own table somewhere else and the finance floor doesn't even interest them. So um, maybe they don't want to go hang out with all the boys on a sweaty floor and they'd much rather be in their own area building their own dreams. I'm not sure. But what I will tell you is there's a lot of options, and we have to stop limiting ourselves.
I love that answer. Geeta, I'd love for you to follow up on that.
So, I worked in the financial industry. I worked in the banking industry for a long time. I didn't necessarily work on the trading floor, if that's what you're referring to, but I definitely was in that high driven world of, constant transactions and supporting different things. And I think when I look back at it, I always loved numbers. I was always a numbers girl. I really, really enjoyed it. However, there's reasons what I didn't enjoy about it. And I think if you're looking to get, I'm going to put it in two different ways. I'm going to put it in the way that fact that if you want to get specifically in the financial world and you want to land on that financial table, or maybe you want a promotion, right? That's the other piece, right? Maybe you want a promotion, or maybe you want an executive role. I think if we could kind of level that ground and say, well, wherever you want to go in any of those things that you want to level up dramatically, I think the first question to ask is why, right? Like, why do you want it? And do you want it bad enough? Do you want it bad enough that you're willing to kind of become who you need to become and be to land those roles? You certainly can, if it's a passion of yours and it's a desire of yours and it pushes you forward, you can, and you get to understand like what what are things or lifestyle things or work requirements, that what are things that you'd have to give up, what are things you would have to embrace, right? One of the things I remember when I was there, it was the long hours, right? It was the long hours. And it's not like the long hours are a bad thing or a good thing. You just have to be willing to embrace that's really what you want. And that's okay. So I think it is possible. You have to understand why. And I think the second piece to it is to know like the impact you want to make. Because no matter what industry you're in, no matter what level you want to achieve to, or whether it's your own business and you want to, kind of grow that in a few notches, you want to come from a place of like, how am I going to make an impact here? What is the value that I'm going to bring? And if we can communicate how to communicate that value, I promise you, it's inevitable. You're going to land there. But you've got to start thinking not from what's in it for me, how can I get this, or what can I do, but rather like, well, if I come in, then what's the impact I'm going to bring that these guys are going to want me at the table?
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. So we have a couple more minutes, and I really want to jump to our last question that we have. What do you think is coming in 2023 for women in finance? Olivia, I'm going to start with you. If we can take maybe about a minute or so.
I mean, I don't need a minute. I can just say it's going to be really big things are coming. It's just, whatever you want, set your goal and go for it. There's, even towards the last question, if you want a position, if you want something in life, there's no reason why you can't have it. I don't think there needs to be a specific plan on how to do it.
Yeah.
Just go do it. So.
Oh, I love it. You're so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Heather?
Yeah, I'm just like Olivia, and just like I said earlier, it's just being limitless, like not putting those limits on yourself. If you really want to go through something huge, go for something huge. Put a strategy in place, put steps in place, be intentional, make that progress. I would say for those of you that are scared, there's a lot of talk of recession. If you listen to certain people, they say no, other people, they say yes. I know there's a lot of fear about it. Two ways to be prepared for that going into the year, aside from making goals and being limitless, is understanding, keep yourself an emergency fund, so that you're not stressed, right? And, pay down whatever debt you can. Look at the year and see where you're at. We're coming to the end of the year, so there's a lot of things you need to be checking. Investment wise, have a good relationship with your financial advisor. If you don't get a new one, you should be able to have honest conversations with them. They should be your best friend. You should be able to pick up the phone and call them. If they're not, you need a different one. So those are just advice in all different areas. But there's a lot of options. There really are more options than there has ever been, for people to invest, grow, innovate, build, no matter what gender you are. So don't let that hold you back.
Yes. Geeta, what do you think is coming in 2023 for women in finance?
I think what's coming in for women in finance is opportunities in any environment where there may seem uncertainty, and uncertainty so often is in our minds more so. If you feel uncertain, you're going to see uncertain. But if you feel that you can really create certainty in your mind, and as Olivia was saying, like, go for it, right? If you want something, you go for it. And that certainty, like moving forward with certainty. And if you move forward with certainty, you're going to get opportunities. And I think the best way I can really phrase that is get a mentor. Get somebody who's already been like 5 years, 10 years ahead of you, that has gone through a lot of that, right? Especially with women, because women go through so many different phases of their life, with being single, being a mom, being this, and you're nurturing this, or you're taking different roles. But if you have a mentor or a coach or someone who can really support you, to hold you and pull you forward, whether it's a financial advisor or whether it's a sales and marketing kind of coach, or a mindset coach, whatever, or maybe you get friends, or in a community, like immerse yourself in a community of people who are who have, or women who have an incredible growth mindset, right? That's where you will grow and you will achieve the opportunities you want. And I think that's really where I see 2023 is about opportunities.
Oh, so special. Thank you, ladies, for joining me tonight on the She Rises Studios, the Women in Finance panel discussion. Before we close out, do any of you have any kind of closing out words that you'd love to share or speak on?
I think that the She Rise Studio is really a great resource. And I want to thank you guys for having me here and giving an opportunity to kind of share some thoughts, because I think I'm just reiterating, like, get yourself into circles where you really have your energy and positive ideas uplifted. And this is a great space to have that resource.
Yeah. No, we appreciate you being here, Geeta. Thank you so much. Heather, thank you for being on tonight. Olivia, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And the book Becoming an Unstoppable Woman in Finance, released September 25. You can go ahead and get it on Amazon, or you can visit our website at sherisesstudios.com. And again, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure, Olivia, Geeta, Heather. And with that, we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.